A woman's place in this world struggles to move forward towards equality, balancing her roles of nurturer, caretaker, provider, wife, or socialite, seeking to bring out a woman's true identity, yet carrying more burdens and responsibilities than her counterpart, without acknowledgement of her successes in her many roles. Oh, women, realize who you are, your skills and talents, for you are the glue that holds this world together in the midst of a storm, in the celebration of good times, and in bringing forth the next generation. Where would this world be without you? Many try to take care of their personal and business affairs while being injured or sick, pushing themselves far beyond the duties of motherhood or friendship. Women's International Day is a way to say thank you and keep up the fight for equality and freedom. Let's talk about you and International Women's Day here on ESTRA's Welcome and thank you for joining ESTRA's TV on Block TV this March 13th, 2013. This is your car accident television channel sharing information and concerns that help you. Hi, I'm ESTRA, your host. Tune in every Wednesday morning at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are coming to you from Seattle, Washington. Today, women are head of households for many families. The strength and courage displayed by females daily helps make our world a better place, giving beyond the call of their personal responsibilities, all while doing this with less wages, less time, and fewer resources. However, bring our resources together, including our wisdom, knowledge, and support, and improvements in our lives will prevail, even after car accidents. Now for my commentary on you and International Women's Day. From my perspective, most human beings desire to be the captain of their own life ship, to choose the destiny by having opportunities for goal achievements, that the path to this dream is open, fair, and allow the same chances to be obtained as with anyone else. Unfortunately, currently we live in an imperfect world. Not only is it imperfect, there are many processes and behaviors that inhibit the dreams and goals of many individuals. Women made a decision in spite of these obstacles to work towards improving the lives of females all around the world, to provide a better life by providing support that move them from the current place to one where the needs and desires are met, allowing them to work towards higher goals. Appreciate the progress of today, yet persevere through the struggles for tomorrow, because it will be here sooner than you think. And in order for it to be a better place for our girls of tomorrow, the women of today must take up the torch of equality, justice, and freedom for all. Women in car accidents endure a struggle to carry an already heavy burden, working towards changing legislation that promotes holding insurance companies and employers accountable to pay out on disability benefits will reduce the number of families living in poverty, especially when premiums have been paid to them in case tragedy strikes. Equality will bring hope for a better life for many girls and women. Each of us must continue to work to make this a reality. Ladies, of all ages, happy International Women's Day. Sometimes we don't realize just how long a struggle can go on, but for most people, the struggle for equality and freedom and justice is still a long way away. And it's fortunate that we have people or organizations, or actually both organizations of people, to come together and decide that this is such an important issue that they'll continue on for generations to make this happen. So we're going to start back from 1908, and that's where the website goes. It says, great unrest and critical debate was occurring among women. Women's oppression and inequality was spurring women to become more vocal and active in campaigning for change. Then in 1908, 15,000 women marched through New York City demanding shorter hours, better pay, and voting rights. I have to stop there for a minute because that was in 1908. And what's going on today? People are needing what? Shorter hours because they've got people working longer hours because they've taken the jobs and made people do more instead of what they were doing before. So now some people are trying to do two jobs instead of one. So shorter hours, better pay, and voting rights. How odd. Is history repeating itself? Something to think about. So in 1909, in accordance with a declaration by the Socialist Party of America, the first National Women's Day was observed across the United States on 28th of February. Women continued to celebrate the National Women's Day on the last Sunday of February until 1913. So that tells you that there were women from a very long time, or from very many generations, that have decided that things need to change, and people have been working towards that, and we're still not there. But in 1910, a second international conference of working women was held in Copenhagen. A woman named Clara Zetkin, the leader of the Women's Office for Social Democratic Party in Germany, tabled the idea of an International Women's Day. She proposed that every year in every country there should be a celebration on the same day, a Women's Day, to press for their demands. The conference was over 100 women from 17 countries, presented unions, socialist parties, working women's clubs, and including the first 3 women elected to the Finnish parliament, greeted Zetkin's suggestions with unanimous approval, and thus International Women's Day was a result. How exciting. Pushing forward through adversity. That's what we all need to do. In 1911, that was my little thing, by the way. In 1911, following the decision agreed at Copenhagen in 1911, International Women's Day, IWD, was honored the first time in Australia, Denmark, Germany, Switzerland on March 19th. More than 1 million women and men attended IWD rallies campaigning for women's rights to work, vote, be trained, to hold public offices, and end discrimination. Wow, that's amazing. 1 million women and men. And that's the key. I need to just interject something here. The fight is for human dignity, and it's for all of us to promote this, women and men. But I'm going to go on here. It says, quote, however, less than a week later, on March 25th, the tragic Triangle Fire in New York City took the lives of more than 140 working women, most of them Italian and Jewish immigrants. This disastrous event drew significant attention to working conditions and labor relations in the United States that became a focus of subsequent International Women's Day events. 1911 also saw women's Bread and Roses campaign, which I guess we're going to get into that too. So it always seems like we only get people to move when there's tragedy. This is me for a moment here. When tragedy strikes, and it seems like it would be really nice for change to get ahead of tragedy, to move things forward so that not only is life better for everyone, but the choices in which we make have positive outcomes before a negative event. Okay. 1913 to 1914. On the eve of World War I, campaigning for peace, Russian women observed their first International Women's Day on the last Sunday in February 1913. In 1913, following discussions, International Women's Day was transferred to March 8th, and this day has remained the global date for International Women's Day ever since. So, this is me stopping for a minute. So, mark your calendars every March 8th to know that it's Women's Day, International Women's Day, and celebrate it for all the work that so many women and so many generations have done to make women's lives better, and men, women and men. It takes both of us. It doesn't take one. It takes everyone looking at life and saying these are actual privileges and rights that everyone should have, regardless of their sex, creed, or color. I think we should add to those things, but we'll go on from here. 1917, quote, on the last Sunday of February, Russian women began to strike for bread and peace in response to the death of over 2 million Russian soldiers in war. Opposed by political leaders, the women continued to strike until 4 days later, the Tsar was forced to abdicate and the provisional government granted women the right to vote. Then that's what I have to stop for just a minute. And that's sometimes you have to be so determined and to say, I'm not stopping, I'm not going to let this go until things change. And you have to stand. And sometimes you take sacrifices and sometimes there are risks. But it's worth it. It's worth it when you know that you're moving to make people's lives better. Your life might be made worse in the interim, but overall, as a humanity, moving forward is so much more important. Okay, I'm going to go on. Let's see here. The date the women's strike commenced was Sunday, the 23rd of February, on the Julian calendar, then in use in Russia. This day on the Gregorian calendar in use elsewhere was March 8th. So, 1918 to 1999. So we're going to kind of like merge a lot of the stuff in here. Since its birth in the socialist movement, the International Women's Day has grown to become a global day of recognition and celebration across developed and developing countries alike. For decades, IWD has grown from strength to strength annually. For many years, the United Nations has held an annual IWD conference to coordinate international efforts for women's rights and participation in social, political, and economic processes. In 1975 was designated as International Women's Year by the United Nations. Women organizations and governments around the world have also observed IWD annually on March 8th by holding large-scale events that honor women's advancements and while diligently reminding of the continued vigilance and action required to ensure that women equality is gained and maintained in all aspects of life. Sometimes we sit back in our own, this is me for a moment, I'm taking a break here. Sometimes we sit back in our own small worlds and we look at things from our worldview. And sometimes it's very important to actually expand that view, to look out beyond yourself, look out to not just your neighbor, but also your community, also your country, also the world. Because if you aren't able to do that, then it can be very frustrating to be able to see with the whole thing as you want to see. It's very important to be able to gain a perspective that encompasses everyone.